Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unconventional Kitchen. I am your host, Ayaz. This is where I make a breakfast concoction for breakfast, and I also talk about what's on my mind. And what is on my mind as we are in the month of September, that is the 9th month of the year. Interesting enough, one of the shows you probably didn't see on Nickelodeon back in the 90s was a soap opera. It was called Nick's Continuing High School Drama. That was its slogan. And no, that wasn't the name of the show. It was called 15. And interesting enough, I've been on Facebook defending this show because I think it deserves another chance to run on television. Maybe not on Nickelodeon, maybe not on Teen Nick, but on one station, so people could at least see it. A lot of people are probably into the older shows on Nickelodeon, Teen Nick, the Disney Channel. And let me tell you something, television was much better back in the 1990s before we stepped into the wonderful era called reality television. And I'm not saying every reality TV show is lame, but for some reason back into the 1990s and even the 1980s, we had television that impacted. We had more exciting television. Shows like Double Dare, Welcome Freshmen in the 1990s, Salute Your Shorts in the 1990s, and of course 15. And 15 seemed to fall victim of Nick's road of getting more cartoons onto the schedule and using the syndicated shows from other networks to knock down the live action shows, which was very important in the 1990s, as a lot of the schedule in the 1990s was made up of the live action shows, and 15 was one of those victims that unfortunately was thrown off the air in the summer of 1994 for good. And that show has not been on television since. I was fortunate a couple of years ago to get a DVD of 15, and I still find myself watching it. I love the characters, and I'm hoping that someone out there, a production company, a TV station, something, could make a new 15 and pick the story up where it left off. I think it deserves a second chance not only to run on TV, and I also think a new 15 should be made and filmed in some of the same locations. That means in Canada, that means here in the United States. If it was to be filmed in the United States, I would push for the series to be filmed once again in Orlando, where seasons 3 and 4 of 15 was actually made, and also Canada, where seasons 1 and 2 of 15 were made. This was a soap opera, high school drama that didn't even touch the sands of Hollywood. Didn't even touch the sands of Los Angeles. So if you didn't like it, you probably didn't get it. You probably didn't understand the advanced script of the show and focused on how the characters were not all that appealing to you. But as you watch the show more and more and study the show, you'll find yourself, you'll like the show. You'll like the show because it's different than anything Nickelodeon has on now. Considering Nickelodeon went crazy with Rugrats back in the 1990s, which offended the older audience of Nickelodeon. And it seemed like when they became obsessed with cartoons, almost every live action show was sacrificed. Space Cases, Are You Afraid of the Dark, The Tomorrow People, to name a few shows, and even the game shows, very popular in the 1990s, started to feel the effects of Nick's shoved cartoons. I always thought that Rugrats was on too many times. There was too much obsession on Nick's behalf with Rugrats that they would sacrifice even the live action shows for Rugrats. And of course we saw that when Rugrats ended up in SNCC. Then we knew it was too much. And then another thing that happened into the 1990s is Nickelodeon started shifting their live action shows from Orlando to Los Angeles, which was another thing that brought the network down. Shows like All That, Kenan and Kel were no longer made in Orlando and shifted to Los Angeles. Of course, Roundhouse was once made in Orlando, and that was shifted to LA, so that wasn't a good idea either. And now we find Nickelodeon Teen Nick, the Disney Channel, pretty much chasing each other in the ratings. And of course, that leaves the older fans very annoyed with what's going on. And the cartoons that are on Nickelodeon are nothing compared to the Angry Beavers, Our Real Monsters, and Ren and Stimpy. I think Ren and Stimpy should come back. Even if it's a more mild version of Ren and Stimpy, I still think the old SNCC slot could be Ren and Stimpy. A much scarier Are You Afraid of the Dark could return. A continuation of The Secret World of Alex Mack could also return. And a new version of 15 would be great for the SNCC lineup. Nickelodeon is making changes. They're bringing in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Hopefully that will switch up the network, as iCarly is ending, as How to Rock, Victorious, and Bucket and Skinner's Epic Adventures have all been canceled. So one can hope there is going to be the return of the old Nickelodeon, the old game shows, and a return to filming things in Orlando and Canada, two of those places that really stuck the network on the map. I'm Ayaz. Those are my thoughts for the Unconventional Kitchen, and for now, we will see you coming up later on.